Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call the meeting to order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, September the 27th. If you would, at this time, please rise for our invocation, followed by a pledge.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come with bowed heads and on the hearts, thanking you for all your many blessings. We thank you for life, health, and strength. Father, we ask that we pray a special blessing on the leaders that are here before you tonight. Give us the courage to make decisions that are pleasing to the community and pleasing in your sight. We ask that you bless each member that are in this audience. Bless the leaders of this country, locally and nationally. And not only bless those that are dear and dear to us, Jesus, but bless mankind everywhere. This we ask in thy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Okay. No public comments tonight, so next on the agenda, gentlemen, is the consent agenda. On the consent, you have the approval of the September 7th work session minutes and approval of the September 13th regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion on the consent?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay, moving along. New business. We have a presentation from Ms. Kyle Fletcher, our Executive Director on the IDA. Thank you for
Yes, sir.
requesting this and coming to see us.
Thank you for allowing me. Let me get this going. Okay. Great. I just wanted to provide an update for the County Commission. I'm also doing this for the City Council next week and the School Board October the 4th. So in order to give the tax levying authorities kind of an update on how we're spending our money and what the Development Authority Board and staff are doing. And I've got a few things to leave if you're interested when you pick up. We've got progress over the past decade. I brought a sample packet of what we give industries that we're recruiting. We provide them with that. And then I've got some updated information on our action plan that we did 2 years ago. But let me move through this real briefly. One of the main reasons I came tonight is we've had a flurry of prospect activity over really the last 12 to 18 months. One of the projects that we're working on, Project Green Future, we have been working with at least a year and a half. And you know, I wish it would be quicker when people were looking that they'd either decide yes or no, but there's a lot of work and due diligence that goes in on both ends to make sure we can accommodate a prospective industry as well as them meeting, you know, what we're looking for as far as the new industry goes. But an important part of our incentive package for the Development Authority is an industrial revenue bond. And since we're a constitutional authority and we were set up in 1964, that's one of the biggest assets to having a constitutional authority, is we're simply a conduit, and we take title on their property and equipment, and they get a tax break. And I wanted to share a couple of pilot schedules, and the acronym PILOT stands for Payment in Lieu of Taxes. So we don't just hand out industrial revenue bonds as an incentive to every project. I mean, it's got to be one that really blends with our workforce, that's bringing a good investment, and will be a win-win for the community. But quite often, that bond might put us over the edge in successfully recruiting a new company, because it seems like now everybody wants free land, They want a monetary incentive. They want the state to provide a lot of incentives as well. So when you're a rural community and don't have as much as some of the metro areas, we're tasked with being very creative. So Charles McKeon came aboard, and I was talking to him. I said, I'm going to come to your board. I need to go to the school system, the city, and the county, and explain this. And he said, well, I just really have one thing to say, and that's 0 times 0 equals 0. And I'm bad at math, but even I get that. If there's no industry, if this prospective industry is not here now, you know, they're not paying any taxes, so we're not getting any taxes. So I think that's a good way to look at this. And if you will look in your packet, I know it's very hard to read, but I kind of want to summarize this for you. The name of this project is Project Green Future, and we offered them a 10-year abatement. And if you'll look at this slide, you'll notice the job creation with this one project is 171 jobs and a $59 million investment. What the IDA board has voted to offer this project is 44 acres of land at no cost, and that's in the Thomaston-Upson Industrial Park, if you know where Solutions Pest and Lawn is, Meriwether Ready Mix. It's over in there, and that property is appraised at $15,000 an acre, so the total value of that incentive is $660,000. A monetary incentive of $500,000, and we would apply for an EDGE grant. And there's a cost for applying and maintaining an EDGE grant through a grant writer. So we're doing several different incentives for them, but the one that pertains to the county as well as the city and the school system is the abatement of taxes. And I can even read it on here. You've got, okay, anyway, heavens, yes. Thank you. 2.6 million roughly, thank you, in tax savings for this project. So you've got a 10-year abatement, so they'd start out paying 10% of projected taxes and end up in that 10th year they'd be paying 100%. So I wanted to present that to you. This does not in any shape, form, or fashion mean this prospect is coming here. It just means this is what we're proposing, and I never want to propose something for the city, for the county, or for the school system without making you aware of it. The next piece of paper is in your packet for Project Elephant. I didn't come up with these names, by the way. It's the state did. And this is 100 jobs and a $65 million investment. And when Charles and I are formulating these pilot schedules, he works with me because he's got to present it to his board as well. So there are a lot of mechanisms in place to make sure that the taxpayers are protected as well. This is a 10-year abatement too, with another, I think it's a very similar savings, Jessica, if you look, it's like is it 2.6?
It is.
As well on that one. And what we're offering this project is 35 acres of land at no cost, and that is in the Central Georgia Business and Technology Park. And that land is appraised at a higher value, $25,000 per acre, and that's how we came up with the $875,000 incentive. And we're offering them $200,000 in monetary incentive, which they can use for any capital improvements. So, and we're also, I would like to offer them the bond, which would create roughly $2.6 million in tax savings. So we're excited to have these projects and some others in the coffer. Like I said, not each one of them gets the opportunity for an industrial revenue bond. Now, I'm trying to think, in the past we've had bonds with Quad Graphics, Criterion, Standard Textile. We did one in 2019, if you remember, for Intafor, $115 million bond. And Intafor's yet to take advantage of it. COVID hit and things went crazy, so I think we may be redoing that bond for them. So But back to Infor, they were issued the bond in 2019, and they haven't had a tax break yet because none of the money was spent and they didn't meet the criteria. So there are things in place, you know, we don't just offer the tax saving, they have to meet the criteria that would be set forth in the bond, which is about that thick. And we use bond counsel in Atlanta and have for over 40 years used, I believe, the same firm. So they do a great job for us. But there are a lot of steps in place. It's, you know, hopefully we're going to land one of these projects in the near future, but I did want the commission to know that it is an important piece of what we offer in our incentive package. And just see if y'all had any questions in regards to this.
Pretty straightforward. You boiled it down, and it makes
can-
perfect sense, so.
Certainly call, and being able to offer the land too, I will say, for some of these projects is a good incentive. And I'm hopeful that industries that are looking in the metro area that don't necessarily have to be in the middle of Atlanta will begin to understand it costs less to do business outside of the metro area. You pay your workforce not quite as much, the wages aren't as bad, the cost of living is less, and so there are a number of assets. So the land, we have no building inventory currently, but the land that we have, and when you're offering it no cost to a project, becomes a huge deal and keeps us in the game, so to speak. So if you don't have any questions, I'd like to just take a minute to do a few reviews of what the office has been doing. I think you know some of this, but I also know that the city and county are talking about maybe the future setup or structure of the Development Authority. So I wanted a chance just to make sure you were aware of some of the great works that we're doing. Right now, we're primarily working on recruitment, retention, workforce development, and retail. And I will say the challenge of COVID on the retention factor was huge. We have some large industries such as Standard Textile, and Thomaston Mills that were heavy into hospitality and healthcare. They manufacture products for, you know, sheets and towels for those industries which were devastated by COVID. So our office worked hard with those industries. First of all, we made sure they were aware of all the PPP loans and anything they could take advantage of in that arena, which was helpful. And if they had to displace workers, which some did, they had to cut out shifts. They weren't, you know, the orders weren't coming in. So we tried to help relocate those workers to an industry that might be hiring. Abatement began to make hand sanitizer. That's not in their normal scope, but they shifted to manufacture some PPE that would be helpful. Chief Manufacturing, Thomaston Mills, and Standard Textile use some of their cloth fabric for face masks. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but anyway, so on retention, I know the fluffy good news photo op part of economic development is when you land a new industry. But I wanted you to understand, and that's a good measurable tool, but there is so much other stuff that the Development Authority does. So the retention had really played a tremendous role in the 2 years through COVID. Communication, I hope that you all get your monthly reports and read them. We make the rounds speaking to the civic clubs, church groups, coming to commission, council, and school board meetings, going up to Atlanta. I'm going up there Thursday to talk about some ongoing projects and make sure that if they've got new project managers, they're well aware of what we have available in our community. And, you know, I'll go up there with a cup and give them my card and hopefully be able to develop a relationship with them. Talking about marketing, Susan works very hard on our website. We had a meeting Monday, and the minutes from that meeting are already on the website from the previous one that were signed. And keeping up with our website, we've done job fairs. The folder you see on the flyer you see on the bottom left was one that we worked with the Chamber and the Upson Beacon on, trying to get people to go back to work when COVID ended. I worked with state utility partners on flyers, and there's just one sample up there that's of our Central Georgia Business and Technology Park. The flyer on the bottom right is a manufacturing basics course that we got a $60,000 grant from Three Rivers Regional Commission, and thanks to Chairman Allen, who was on the board at the time, and helped us get that. But the sad news was between Pike, Upson, and Lamar, we had 0 people, students, apply for that. And it was a 2-week flash course at Southern Crescent, and you come out with a certification if you went all day, every day. But, you know, sometimes we offer programs that people aren't ready to take advantage of for one reason or the other, but we're going to continue to do that. And work very closely with the school system. We work very hard in regionalism. The state preaches regionalism, and pre-COVID we did fishing for prospects for several years, and it became a big hit in Atlanta. Everybody wanted to know if they were going to get an invitation, and I said, well, if you give us a project, we'll get you an invitation. So we partnered, like I said, and we had 4 counties involved in that. We had them, that year we had them to Zebulon, to United Bank's little lakeside cabin, and they fished, or they could get in the water, and we each gave presentations. We gave them a tool chest or a fishing kit just with various information from our communities. We also go up there and walk the halls in Atlanta just to make sure they know who we are and what we have available. And from the regional aspect, when you're in a rural community, sometimes it's hard to get the attention of project managers, but if you group up together and they can hear 4 communities at one time, you seem to have more successes. So, and it also provides, being a part of a JDA or a Joint Development Authority, provides tax credits for a company as well. Educational partnerships. I work so closely with Upson Lee High School, and we're getting into the middle school as well. And earlier this year we met with the high school Chick-fil-A leadership team, and that's made up of students from all socioeconomic backgrounds, and they were juniors and seniors. And we have a workforce development task force that our office developed with all kind of career leaders, and anyway, to give input. And we realized the important piece we were missing was hearing from the students. So we got some of their input, and it's always interesting hearing what 16, 17, and 18-year-old students think, because I assure you it's different than the way we think about being in the workforce. What they're looking for is a little bit different. And as far as manufacturing, which is the strength of our community, you know, in days gone by, manufacturing could be involve dirty work. You know, you might get grease on your hands, or, you know, maybe sitting at a sewing machine, but innovation and technology has completely changed things, and that's a message that we need to get across to them, and that's why the teacher industry tour was vital. So not only within the school system and working with the CTAE advisors, that's Career Technical Engineering and Agriculture, those and some high demand career initiatives that we're working on. We work closely with the students who graduate that do not have college plans, either technical college, 4-year university, they're not going into the military, or they're not going straight into the workforce. They don't know. And in our community, we have a lot of those that don't know. So working with the industries on plugging them in and letting them know if they'll get an entry-level position at our industry, they can move up the ladder real quick. And then we talk with the industries on what some of the I guess, barriers are with that, and I think you're all familiar with soft skills, and that's something that I preach all the time. Eye contact, firm handshake, don't have an obscene ringtone when your phone rings, things like that. So I know that the work-based learning program at the school is working with those students. Sometimes I'll go speak to the marketing class, and workforce is very important, but then the adult ed for those that have graduated from high school, up to 25 years old, those that aren't employed, that's a big segment of our population. How do we reach them? So I've worked with the housing authorities, and I send flyers to the churches on different opportunities, hoping to get the word out, because one thing, not everybody listens to WTGA. I do, Dave, but not everybody does, and not everybody gets a subscription to the newspaper. So we have to make sure that we're reading all segments of our community and making sure they understand what is being offered, and much of this is offered at no cost. We talk about state partners. I know some of y'all have attended the bus tours that have been at our airport before. We had people from ECG, Georgia EMC, Chairman Allen and Scott Blackstock set up a meeting with the Georgia Department of Economic Development Commissioner, Pat Wilson, and he came to Thomaston and brought a bus basically of project managers that were able to learn what great things we have here. So that's just a little bit about state partners. I'm passionate about existing industries because we're always told that's where 80% of your jobs are going to come from. I know that y'all have been through Upson County and seen the now hiring signs, whether it's an industry or retail. There are jobs available and plenty of jobs there are HR, really good paying HR positions right now in our community. It goes from no skill to entry level all the way up to supervisory positions. But I have been to several meetings and met with some CEOs who are having hiring problems, and this was pre-COVID as well. And then I get them to share with me what are you paying? You want a warper at the mill. What are you paying? $11.50. And I said, well, that's why people aren't coming in. So I can get with the Georgia Department of Labor and break down the sectors and get what the average wage would be if they were in a 30 or 45 mile radius. And that's an important it's an important thing to educate them. We have many of our local industries that are not headquartered in Thomaston. We've got Wisconsin, Ohio, and so I have to make sure that word is getting through the plant manager up to the corporate people, and even their CPAs at times when we're working with certain tax advantages that the state of Georgia offers that they may not know. Interfor is a Canadian-based company, so we've just got those relationships are just very vital in what we do. We have the business retention grant. It's a $5,000 grant. You'll see Crown Technology up there. They make the paint, that goes down on the roads. Anyway, we did, with this mug, we did a Mug by the IDA campaign, just trying to introduce some of our industry leaders. Just a few weeks ago, that's Brad Fry, who is the CEO of Standard Textile in Cincinnati, and he contacted me and wanted to meet. He flew down here, and I made sure that Amanda Fields, who is our Region 4 Georgia Economic Development rep, was here too. I can talk about local incentives with these people and what we can do, and our region project manager can talk about what the state can do. The state will give you tax savings on any new equipment. So if they bought $1.2 million in new looms, she can say, oh, or if you, there are port tax credits if you use the Port of Savannah. So there's just a thick book of what's available. So we have to make sure that they understand what's available so they can take advantage of it. And I always tell industries when we're recruiting them, if we are successful in land and industry here, that doesn't mean we say good luck, goodbye. That's really when the real work starts, and making sure they get involved in the community and have the either permitting assistance or that they're aware of everything going on. But anyway, those were just a few highlights about what our office does kind of on a daily basis. And I just want you to know we wear a lot of hats, and that Susan and I are extremely passionate about what we do. I don't think you'll find two people that love their job more than we do. So I thank you for your continued support, and if you ever have any questions or you want us to try something new or try something different, please let Chairman Allen know. He's on the IDA board, or come see us. We would love to have your input because it is a team effort. So I appreciate it. If you want any of these materials or to look through anything, you're welcome to do it. So if there are no other questions, yes, sir.
I like that. When you speaking of project manager, you're actually talking about project manager for the state of Georgia, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Or utility companies.
Right.
Question I got, out of the current industry that you've been a part of bringing to Thomaston, how many of them were brought to you by a project manager?
From the state, that have located here.
Right.
Gosh. Well, Golden Star that located was brought by a local industry.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yes,
once you got them, I'm saying the state didn't come down and go, here you go. I mean, you may have had to ask for their assistance once you kind of got fish on the line. That's what I meant. How many projects has the state?
I don't think we've been successful with one yet. I'm hoping we will be in the near future, but the amount of projects I'm seeing from the state has increased considerably. There was, and I've been kicking and screaming at the state level for a while about rural Georgia and the lack of projects that we're seeing. So they're well aware. I was even the chairman of a committee for the Georgia Department of Economic Development on rural communities. But lately, every project that I've had has been the state. So, you know, I'm not sure how that works, but you know what? Let's say Company Z in California wants to move because the cost of living out there is outrageous. The state's in trouble. So they know they want to be within an hour radius of Hartsfield-Jackson, the international airport. They know that they need 58 acres of land. They may want a building with 26-foot high ceilings or 300,000 square feet, you know, yada, yada, yada. They're punching in all that at the state level to bring up the communities that meet the parameters of the project. So there's a lot that goes into it, but because we haven't had a lot of projects in the past years from the state, doesn't mean we haven't been kicking and screaming.
Right.
I know. And the option of getting projects or site selectors as well, and I'm going to a luncheon in a few weeks in Atlanta with a panelist of site selectors. So, you know, there are a lot of avenues to work for that. Like I said, we've gotten local officials to help with projects. We've had local industries bring us a project. Chief Manufacturing got us Golden Star because they were a supplier. So, and we definitely have to think outside of the box with that, but that's a great question.
And to kind of piggyback off what you just said, is a lot of times, you know, obviously there's opportunities all over the United States that companies are expanding, and right now the Southeast is very attractive. But a lot of times, you know, we have companies within a 60-mile radius of here that's looking to expand. How can we get that information, and how can we go see them directly? Per se, cut out the middleman. If you need help, the state's a phone call away. How can we get in these doors? I mean, or do we talk to our current industry, and who are their suppliers? Is there potential there? What do we do to cultivate that?
Right, and I do meet with the local industries about that and who their suppliers are, and I went to Quad thinking surely we can, well, Quad makes their own paper, they make their own dye, you know, things like that. But yes, we do go there and ask those questions. And I don't know if you remember several years ago when gun legislation was changing up in Connecticut. I probably wrote 30 letters to all the gun makers and suppliers and ammo people, hoping they would come down here and look. I took Jim Davis with me to a prospect meeting, and we both pulled out our carry card. You know, it was a gun manufacturer, but we do things like that as we follow legislation. GEDA they use Cornerstone as their lobbyist, so they send us a list of pertinent economic development legislation, and sometimes it gives us a heads up. So.
Yep, I have a good question. You kind of led me into it. So in your example of Project X in California, a lot of times they have preferred industrial developers already looking for them, and not so much a site selector. Are we doing anything to get to those industrial developers? Because I saw some things related to the retail development, retail brokers. But what about the industrial developers? Are we making sure they're aware of our sites?
Like, you're not talking about CBRE, you're...
Well, yeah, I mean, they are an industrial developer, but your, you know, Majestics, your Panettones, your, you know, the guys that are, they have clients and they do the same thing. They'll come
Right.
to them and say, hey, we want a 60-acre piece of
Right.
land 60 miles from the interstate 75, and if they know it's out there, they'll put it in front of them.
Okay, no, that, we have not been doing that. I've got an ongoing project with CBRE, so some of those, but
Well, in a way we have, with our relationship with Dublin Construction and Curry Real Estate. You know, we signed an agreement with them so that, you know, hopefully using the real estate broker aspect of Curry, you know, and so they have those relationships with CBRE and those other folks to get them out there, to get them, and it's for the Central Georgia Business and Technology Park. So hopefully that'll come, we'll see something from that. So, you know, having the real estate broker there and having a rep from a construction company there that can use our site development plan out there and say, hey, this is what you have here.
Project Elephant was brought to us by Harry Norman, Realtor, and I had not seen that before. So, and you know, LoopNet and these, we're active on there, keeping everything updated, making sure those websites that they look at or you know, we have current information, workforce information and such. And again, our website is a vital tool for us, and if you haven't looked at it, we have a drone video of our entire park, which provides a great aerial. And I will share this, talking about partnerships. The last time we had a prospect here, Project Elephant, they came, and when you're looking at land in the Central Georgia Business and Technology Park, it just looks like, you know, big farmland. So I had Sheriff Kilgore had a deputy in the Sheriff's Department ATV there. Well, there were 6 people on this riding through, and then it started raining in the middle of it, but they were just tickled, you know. They were a foreign company as well, but being prepared and using all the tools that we have, like pulling in Sheriff Kilgore, it was vital for them to actually boots on the ground back on the back side of the park. So it was just another fun way to give them something to remember our community by.
Well, if I could just, you know, so obviously one of Governor Kemp's big priorities was bringing industry to rural Georgia. So I think one of the reasons we're seeing a lot of the interest, I mean, if you look at all the announcements coming out of the state, you know, there are some in the metro area, but there's a lot of them that are coming into rural Georgia. And I think a lot of that is that top-down approach. You know, we were fortunate as a community, you know, Governor Kemp appointed Scott Blackstock to the Georgia Department of Economic Development Board. He's a board member there, so, having that visibility, I think, has helped us in some way too. Obviously, this board is very interested in economic development. We put our money where our heart is. We've, $1.9 million for water and wastewater at Central Georgia Business and Technology Park.
Absolutely.
2-point-something million for, well, actually it's 2.2. I hate to trivialize that amount of money, but $2.2 million in high-speed broadband in our community. Now, so they've got broadband out there, but this will be another pathway that they can use to provide some redundancy and another choice that industries will have out there. We learned that with United Teleports. The county and Upson EMC partnered with Mike Gorella. We had Mike down here for about a year, providing us some feedback on things that are part of our 18-month plan that we're still working on. So, social media presence, that's huge and all that. So this board is very involved. I mean,
Yeah, and
we're here. 6 years ago,
Yes, sir.
the IDA didn't do retail commercial recruitment. 6 years ago, there was, I remember the headline in the paper, the IDA won't do workforce development, but we cracked that code, and so now you're in the schools working on workforce development. Workforce housing is another issue that we've got to face. So it's a big puzzle, and this board has been very supportive of
Right. And
the IDA.
the 5-year agreement that the county and city did to continue the funding after we became debt-free was vital in us building our incentive plot over here. So thank you for that.
So my hat's off to you and the IDA, and I don't say that because I'm on the IDA. I mean, I got a seat at the table, but this board has done a lot, and as an IDA member, I want to thank y'all for that.
And this is directed to her, but I want you to listen too, because you're on the board. But what more has
Yes.
this board? What more does this board need to do?
I think, like Chairman Allen said, I mean, the support, we're able to do the industrial revenue bonds. I do think in the very near future, we're going to need to consider purchasing additional land. So if you can, I'm working on getting some information on where infrastructure might be in place around the city and county, because that's where we need to look. It's expensive to build that out.
It's kind of limited too, right?
It is, but if you've got ideas about that, and I'd like to get, if you can get me a list of the industrial folks, we've got beautiful materials we can send them, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And then as we get in, dig into our comp plan and define what we want to be as a community going forward, land use is a big one, and where workforce housing fits into that, that's another biggie. Trying to recruit builders to come here and build homes that folks can live in, work, and play here.
And it's not unique
I
to
got a
us, and it's a national problem as well. Yes, sir.
Do you think us not having pad-ready sites is hurting us?
I've asked that question, we need pad-ready sites, and the spec building question has come up as well. The pad-ready site definitely helps expedite for an industry. They don't have to spend as much time permitting and doing all that. And we have a plan for the park that includes that. We're just waiting to see what happens with some projects, but it would definitely help. And I think the board is willing to go to the expense to make that happen. Pad ready can be defined in several different ways, but definitely the grading, and we know where we have the plan that tells us this is low, we need to get dirt from over here and get it moved over here, but we're hoping if we time it with a project that it can be done more cost effective, but if not, we certainly hope to move forward with a pad ready site.
Speed to market was another big thing that Gorella and his folks talked to us about. So it is a priority with the IDA. It's in our plan. It's just like, as Ms. Fletcher said, it's, you know, you would like to go out there. I mean, we had talked about pad ready in the whole 250 acres out there. And, you know, that was before the cost of everything just went through the roof. And it was still, I think that was gonna be like $4 point something million. So no telling what it is now. I mean, it would be ideal because there's, you know, if you go look at the park out there, there's some highs and some lows and you could balance it, but it just doesn't seem like it's a practical approach right now. So if we did have somebody come out there and, you know, we could kill two birds at one stone, so to speak.
And I'm always using Lester Renew as an example of somebody who in 12 months was able to get everything built and operational in a 12-month period.
And that's
Still
another
amazing.
thing the county and staff stands by to do, you know, expediting, you know, if it's the right project, it's the right people, you know, it's everything from waiving permit fees to, you know, and expediting the permitting of it, so.
Right, and we've talked with Chairman Allen and the mayor and I, and you were asking about ways that we could help. If we ever get that mega project, I mean, I've always felt like I could come back to the commission and say, this is what we have. What we have in our tool chest won't do it. Can y'all help? And I've always felt like, I always tell the prospects how aggressive, you know, the commission and council are with incentives and doing whatever it takes, you know, to land a project. So I feel like we could come up with the money to make something happen if we get that big deal.
Well, speaking of Lester rating, have we changed the specs on what people can build in the
And
park?
he's not in our industrial.
Oh, I know he's not,
Oh, okay.
and I know why. But, you know, some people can't afford to build a tilt-up building.
Yeah, we have old covenants. It's something that Susan and I are working on updating, but we're not opposed to having a building like his. We just wouldn't want a complete metal building. He's got brick, you know, on his as well, but I never knew that was an issue about him coming into the park, actually. So we look at things on a project by project basis. We want to be real careful about allowing outside storage for certain industries, silos. We have the 100-foot clearance being next to the airport and all, but no, I mean, I didn't know that was an issue for him, but the board, we realize the covenants we have are outdated, and when you are talking about speed to market, materials you use to build something is definitely quicker and more economical to do it that way. It's a beautiful building he has, just beautiful. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Ms. Fletcher. You know, we continue to evolve, and good things are happening, so. All right. Item D, discussion and approval of Resolution 25, TAC 2022, Conserve Georgia grant for Squirrel Bluff Park grant. Jason, you want to?
And Mr. Chairman, actually I put in anticipation of us being somewhere else today, I put a short executive summary regarding the process, but in essence what staff has asked and the board approved tonight is a resolution that's authorizing the staff to apply for a grant up to $1.5 million for the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship grant through DNR, which would require a 25% match. That 25% match we identified in the resolution is coming from 2016 SPLOS proceeds, which is part of our 2016 SPLOS fund balance. That amount exists as being allocated for Squirrel Bluff. So we will end up with a submission that's probably going to be a little less than this, but this is just the board's authorization. This is also required as part of the application, the resolution of support. And the other thing we'll have to do in conjunction with this is show that we actually have the funds on deposit, which we're working on providing them as well. The submission is due in a few weeks, so this was the last opportunity for us to get it before the board, before the submission was due. So with that, we're working off the exact same master plan as was approved by this board, and we're submitting for the platform camping, bathrooms at the Bluff, the phase 1 of our multi-use trail, and what was I'm sorry, I'm blanking on my fourth one. If we can work it in, it's either going to be an expansion of primitive camping. We had actually talked about potentially doing the expansion of the RV sites, but we ran into some issues, as you may remember, with engineering as far as potable water and wastewater. So it will be those 4 components will be submitted. Additionally, we'll be looking at submitting an additional grant to do some planning for some mountain bike trails through a mountain bike association, and that grant would be so taken again from the master plan, not related to this one. I know some of the concerns of the advisory committee were that mountain bike trails weren't included in the submission. We are moving forward with that as well, just through a different process. So in essence, you're saying what the board is willing to contribute as far as the match. So we feel like that authorizing that full 25% match gives us the maximum amount of leverage. So.
Okay, anybody have any questions regarding this? If you don't have any questions, I'll just touch on the highlight the resolution. Resolution, Board of Commissioners authorizing the application for the Conserve Georgia grant and committing funds required to complete the proposed project. Whereas Upson County owns and maintains the public recreation property on Flint River known as Sporbrook Park, and whereas it is also a goal of the county to increase recreational opportunities for the public, and whereas the mission of the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program is to provide dedicated funding mechanism to support parks and trails and protect and acquire lands critical to wildlife, clean water, and outdoor recreation across the state of Georgia. And whereas the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program awards Conserve Georgia grants for projects that meet these goals, and whereas Upson County is desirous of obtaining a Conserve Georgia grant to support environmental restoration, stewardship, and enhancement of public park that includes a boat launch, water access, RV camping, cabin camping sites, and a trail system on the property at Squirrel Bluff Park, whereas Upson County could apply up to $1.5 million grant funds for the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship with a required match, and whereas the minimum match requires 25% in kind or cash, and whereas the funding is available in the 2016 Special Local Option Sales Tax Account, and now therefore be it resolved, the Upson County Board of Commissioners authorizes the application for a Conserve Georgia grant and commits funds required to complete the proposed project, and authorizes the chair and or county manager to sign any and all necessary documents that are consistent with the scope and obligation approved in the resolution. And that is the resolution. Is there a motion on this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, this is only for our land, not DNR land, right?
That's correct.
Well, let me ask a question on that. We talked about
Except for the bathrooms.
restrooms
Yeah.
down on the, down by the,
At the Bluff.
At the Bluff.
Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the bottom.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, Commissioner Jones, we've already reached out to DNR leadership about that component of it, and they're supportive of the submission. As a matter of fact, we're working on getting a letter of support from the staff for the submission, so that they're going to be a proponent of us improving those facilities on the property that we lease from them. So that would be the only component.
Seriously improving.
All right, well,
anything.
anything would be an improvement.
Okay.
I know, I realize, and that's a great question. That was a sticking point before, but we've broken through that barrier, and looks like we've got some a potential serious partnership with DNR. And when we pitched it to them, they seemed very excited that we were back in the game and moving forward with the submission. So we're very pleased.
And I think that we'll have some more discussion on the other project and grant application that you talked about with mountain biking, like more details about where the trails would be
Right.
and all that, so.
The grant submission for that, Mr. Chairman, and that separate, and I struggled to remember the name of the association, it's a long one, but basically the grant would pay for the planning and development of the plan. So obviously that would come back for further approval. And then, of course, the board will have to accept the conditions of the grant if we are awarded it. So there's more opportunity for input and feedback based on what we submit.
I think it's a great opportunity, so.
Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. All right. Comments? Mr. Jason?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any prepared for tonight, but I do want to say that I enjoyed sharing time with you at Lions Club last night. I thought we got some great questions. I guess we got a few tough ones, but overall it was a great discussion.
Yeah, and I appreciate you going with me. They doesn't hurt to have the man there so they can't stump me.
Well, I felt like the tag team approach is maybe something we ought to adopt for
About
future
the
engagements.
The tag team of the Laurel and Hardy approach. Okay, but yeah, anything else?
Just check your email. Commissioner Wilder and the chairman and I met with the Lincoln Park Coalition and have got some real movement on a solution for the gym. I met with the attorney today. They proposed a 5-year lease agreement where they would start to tackle some of the improvements themselves if they had a partner with us in doing some of the renovations regarding the shell of the building and the HVAC. So we had a discussion about what potentially that partnership would be. I had a meeting with the county attorney today just to talk about whether that's even feasible. The conversation went very, very well. So what I circulated to you all in the form of an email was just the beginnings of what our responsibilities might be under that relationship and what theirs would be. So I actually am very excited about trying to move forward with a more practical solution to the issue that we all have, which with is a facility that's virtually unusable right now. So.
Okay, hey, one point for business. What did we come up with for the workshop next week, work session?
That was gonna be my comment. I was gonna add.
Nice try. I mean, I know, I'm in town Monday, but then I'm gone for a week, and it sounds like Monday's not a good day for Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Ellington. I don't know, but,
I'm good for my.
yeah, so it sounds like what you want to present, you probably, we need all of us there if possible. So is putting it off 1 week going to, I mean, or, if the 4 of you, I'm out of town Tuesday until next Tuesday, so.
And I have and I think Commissioner Wilder has many conflicts for next week, and unfortunately I do too.
Then the next week is our next meeting on Tuesday.
One solution might be to convene a work session an hour early of our normal meeting and let the finance director and I just, the idea of this work session was to take the first draft of the budget and go over it with you in a little bit of detail, just to give you an idea where we're headed. I know we've talked some concepts about personnel related items and potentially, some minor changes, some staff reduction in some cases. You've given us some guidance on, what you would like to see as far as tax policy over the next few years. So we've begun to incorporate that into the draft document, and we just wanted to share with you where it's at. So honestly, when the finance director came to me today, he's like, are we moving the meeting up till Monday? He's like, I'll be like under the gun to try to get that done by Monday. So to give us a few more days to work on it, that would be great. We won't slow down on our side. So I
think if Alan gets something prepared and you're satisfied with it, you want to go ahead and advance it out to us, I think we'd appreciate getting an advance copy.
Okay.
That way, you might be getting 100 questions before the meeting, but at least we have
and
advance.
potentially that would be a better alternative. So we'll commit to getting it out to you probably midweek next week, and then maybe potentially trying to schedule an hour work session before the actual regularly scheduled meeting, and that maybe we can address questions we haven't been able to address in the interim.
If we could, maybe plan like a 4:30 work session for that Tuesday before our regular meeting. That gives us a little time if we overflow, and it also gives us time to take a break before we come in here.
Great.
Sounds good.
All right.
That meeting,
11th.
no, that would be the,
Yes, I won't be out leaving Griffin till 4:30.
On the 11th?
that meeting would be the,
So you'll be here at 5.
Unless they let us out early.
You need a note?
Yeah.
Get Jessica to write a
Yeah, I need a
note.
note.
Please excuse Commissioner Jones early.
That's right.
yeah, that's right,
Mom.
the 11th.
You know.
Okay. All right. Jessica, you have anything else? Mr. English?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Watson?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Ellington?
Don't have anything tonight, believe it or not.
Mr. Jones?
Appreciate y'all coming out. And I want to say this on YouTube, we've got jobs available in the county with good benefits. Road department's down 6 people. You know, need people to come to work. That's it. Thank y'all for coming.
Mr. Wild? Okay. I really don't have anything. I'll tell you guys, I had my 45th high school reunion this weekend. It was good to see some folks. There was actually one gentleman that hadn't been back in Upson County since he graduated and left. And he was, had some glowing comments about the community and what he saw coming back. And a lot of my classmates were very enthused about the progress that the city and the county and the school board were all making. So went to homecoming the other night. Man, that was a lot of people there. But it was a good football game. I stayed for the first half in Upson Lee Rock, so congratulations to Upson Lee football program. And
I got one more comment after you get done.
okay, well, go ahead. I'll think about something else.
The only thing I would like to comment, and it hadn't got anything to do with us, the Georgia DOT, everybody used to going in Piggy Park, going in La Fiesta, going in everything. Now they got this divider up. So everybody remember, plan your route before you go, because you can't cut across anymore.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, everybody needs to remember that, that project was probably planned a decade ago. And I know at that time, it's just like everything else, there are public hearings that are held. The project is laid out, and their hearings are much like our hearings. It's hard to get everyone, and I'm included in that, to see what it's going to be. And now they're out there pouring the concrete barriers, and we live it. I just told my wife that the other night. We were coming, we were going to La Fiesta, and I said, it's going to be an adjustment. It's going to be an adjustment for a lot of people, but
Piggy Park too.
You have to trust the traffic engineers. It's designed for safety. When you widen it and you got more cars on it, you got to take that into account. I know that's something you deal with all the time when you're dealing with DOT type stuff. So it'll be an adjustment. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but any updates on the construction, our court facility? Any?
Yeah, we call them OAC meetings now. I'm struggling for what that actually means.
Owner architect contract.
That's the one tomorrow morning at 10. So
Okay.
we have my next updated.
Just
Tomorrow at 10.
when you go there, tell them 17 months. The end of July, if I did my math correct when I was thinking about this last night, said the clock is ticking. And, so anyway, we look forward to getting that project going. So with that, is there any by the ways? Appreciate everybody coming. Have a safe trip home. We're out here in 59 minutes, I think. So is there a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned. Thank y'all. We're still live?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Didn't get
Good to
wider.
see you.
I know, I went to Piggy Farm Saturday.
Dave, did you get what you needed?
I couldn't even, yeah, if you know, obviously I had since the early 80s because they wouldn't pour